Welcome back. We turn our attention now to the much talked about report of the National Conference. 2 weeks ago, President Goodluck Jonathan received the report and promised to implement the recommendations. While we wait, I want to share with you the views of one of the delegates at the conference. Charles Uwesonyi Edoson was Senior Advocate of Nigeria, former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Edo State, South Nigeria, is my guest on this episode of the program. I began my chat with him by asking him if the conference met his expectations as a delegate.
I think we must say some very nice words about the president on this one. Whatever anybody thinks about this president, he will be remembered in history as the president that dared to ask Nigerians and Nigeria to face up to themselves. It was becoming a joke that we were ignoring the problems we have, problems of mutual suspicions, grudges, deep-seated grudges that have historical longevity since we've been put together. And this country was beginning to move towards an abyss. I'm not totally out of it yet, but I think this conference is a first step. Having said that, there are no catalogs for constitutional making, no closed catalogs that it must be done this way, and these are templates. And when we're talking about the soul of the country, which essentially is what we're discussing here, about moving Nigeria forward, which engenders issues as to whether is this country still viable? Will we remain together? If we do remain together, are we going to remain with an ineffective, inefficient governance model? Are we going to keep sacrificing the aspirations of Nigerians, deceiving ourselves? Those are questions of the soul of the country. And when we are talking about that, we used transcendental concepts. Even the perceptions are transcendental to the extent that you must be ready to look beyond what your status, your present constitution, and your judicial history tell you, or what they provide to you. And if we are doing that, if we don't do that, rather, we are implicitly saying that, look, there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with the constitution the way it is. There's nothing wrong with our laws the way it is. There's nothing wrong with our governance the way it is, and we should just continue that way. And that would be a joke. Would that be a joke? It would be a joke because there are real problems in this country. And as we speak, our northeast section is very porous right now. We have over 200 girls in captivity. Every night I go to bed, I think about my daughters. I think about those girls. I think about their parents. And I just, I want to cry. Even though difficult as that may be, being a man and all that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, when you tell me about the Constitution as is, you tell me about those who have the mandate or don't have the mandate to be able to carry this. Now, I'll tell you straight away that it is not a business for one person or one institution. Okay. Now, true, you can easily argue that the National Conference has no constitutional powers, in the sense that we were never elected to come bring a constitution the way the Americans elected themselves that led to the Constitution in 1787, or the way some other constitutional efforts had happened in this country. I think at least one has happened in this country. But every country has its own experience. And since there are no closed catalogs to how you make a constitution, for crying out loud, what we are doing here, in as much as we've come up with resolutions that are quite cogent, resolutions that have interrogated our problems, the going issues. Though they have analyzed as the centrifugal forces that are assailing our unity. I do not think saying that we're not a constitutional assembly would be enough reason for you to just discard what we've done. I think it will be quite wise on the side of the National Assembly and all stakeholders in constitution making. Everybody is a stakeholder in a country where the constitution is involved. To look at this, what we've done, and in partnering with every other person, see how we can bring it into effect.
Some people have said that the only way that this conference would make sense is for it to be subjected to a referendum or a plebiscite. Do you see that happening now that we have a blueprint, a report?
On the 17th of March, when we were inaugurated, the president said that much in the sense that he had already sent a note to the National Assembly, who presently is undertaking the constitutional review process, to consider seriously the issue of a referendum as one of the ways of either amending the constitution or creating a new one. And I took him quite seriously about that. And for a president to whom this process will become one of the shining moments of his presidency, I think President Goodluck Jonathan wouldn't joke with a thing like that. A referendum would be the most desired way. If we are able to take these things to the people and have their endorsement, then the preamble, as presently exists in the constitution that says "we the people,"
which some people have said is a lie,
of course, will not make more meaning. Yes. So we probably need to reform our voting process more, because referendum is about voting. But I'm also encouraged by the last two elections that have come in this country. Three elections: the Anambra election, Ekiti election, and it looks like if INEC is getting its act together, and Nigerians are beginning to be more discerning. The results in Ekiti seems to have thrown up some other variables that will now make those in governance, take a harder look at the people they are governing, to actually finding out what it is they really want. So a referendum will make a lot of sense.
There were lots of expectations from the conference. Some felt that we should talk about governance at the center and how to make it less attractive. Were these expectations met?
Well, yeah, I can tell you straight away that governance was seriously interrogated. We came to the realization that, look, the current structure where you have overwhelming federal competence, 52%, with the states and local government sharing the rest, has sort of made governance far from the people. Now, I do recall that when I was once Attorney General in my state, we had problems with roads because the money the states were getting at the time were quite small. And I think the world was going through a period of depression at that time. Everyone was affected. But there was a particular road in Benin City, the road leading into Benin from Lagos, the Uselu Boa Road. It was quite bad, but that's a federal road. But each time people passed through that road, they never spoke about the federal government. Nobody called Obasanjo's name.
Yes, it's the governor.
They always, yes, people spoke out in anger against the governor that he wasn't doing anything because the roads weren't being done. Those are federal roads. And I do recall, too, that in other states like Lagos and some other states, Governor Tinubu at that time had to embark on rehabilitating certain instances, reconstructing federal roads, And when you see a thing like that, it becomes quite evident that there's too much in the hands of the federal government that makes nonsense of our federalism. Things are over-centralized. And to that extent, a federal government that's in the center is in no position to empathize with people the way state government or local authorities will do. So in the conference, we reached a resolute decision to cut down federal ability or capability or its payload of work from 52% to 42%. And I was yielded to the states. Of course, local government, by what we agreed, has then been sublimated to states. So hopefully that is in the process. Now, if you ask me, is that ideal? I think the federal government should still take less, for instance, because but you don't make these kind of movements all of a sudden. I mean, a distance, if you want to travel 100 miles, you don't just jump from 0 to 100 miles all of a sudden. I think this is good movement. It's possible that as we continue to get even more savvy with governance, and states are doing more with what they're getting, there'll be a better argument for you to reduce central competence.